Hey everyone! Today I want to talk about one of the greatest cities in Mesoamerica. It's called Teotihuacan, a massive metropolis located 30 kilometers north of Mexico City. The city is home to one of the largest pyramids in the world and well over 2,000 residential complexes. It's built along a grid system that connects the entire city with a central street called the Avenue of the Dead. But that isn't what makes the city so interesting. Teotihuacan was much more than impressive architecture. It was an ancient cosmopolitan, comparable to the modern day cities such as New York, complete with its own version of Chinatown and Little Italy. The city flourished as a powerful mercantile state and would play an important role in the future of other cultures such as the Aztec and the Maya. So, who were these people who built this great city? To be honest, we're still trying to figure that out. But to better understand Teotihuacan, we first need to take a look at its origins. It's the late 13th century, and a group of nomads from a tribe known as Aztlan have stumbled upon what appear to be ruins. They gaze in awe as they uncover a city with buildings that appear to rival the mountains. They name the city the Place of Gods, or Teotihuacan. These people are not who we're talking about today. This group of nomads would go on to become the Aztec Empire, never forgetting the city of the gods. Teotihuacan. That's great, Napkin, but if we don't know who they are, why are you making a video on this? Because I want to cover the Maya Star Wars. And also, this city is unlike anything else in Mesoamerica. While we know very little about the people who inhabited the city, we are able to see the impact they had on other cultures throughout the region, especially with the Maya, but we'll get to that later. Let's start by taking a look at why the Aztec thought this city was home to the gods. The city is massive, covering an area of over 30 square kilometers. It has pyramids and causeways, royal palaces and residential buildings. It even has apartment complexes. Don't they know those cause traffic? Connecting these structures was an impressive roadway system built along a grid. Modern homes in the area are actually still being built along this grid today. I wonder how many people realize that their homes are still following this ancient layout. The heart of the city can be divided into four areas. To the north, sitting at the end of the plaza, we have the Pyramid of the Moon. Moving south, we have the largest pyramid in the city, the Pyramid of the Sun. By some accounts, the third largest pyramid in the world. Running through the center, we have the main road for the city, the Avenue of the Dead, that connects the two large pyramids with the fourth landmark, the Ciudadela. The Ciudadela was a massive complex and home to one of the most iconic buildings in Mesoamerica, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. To start things off, let's take a look at the largest structure in the city, the Pyramid of the Sun. The Pyramid of the Sun stands tall at an impressive 63 meters in height, with a base of 215 meters. It can be a little difficult to appreciate the scale of these buildings, so here's a comparison of the Pyramid of the Sun with other pyramids we've talked about. In 1908, the pyramid received a rushed reconstruction job in celebration of 100 years of Mexican independence from Spain. While their heart might have been in the right place, unfortunately, the top of the pyramid is not. They gave it a bit of a gangster lean. In their haste to reconstruct the pyramid, they covered up two very important clues that would reveal the purpose of the pyramid. In 1971, thanks to a really bad rainstorm, the entrance to a cave was discovered at the base of the pyramid. The cave was believed to be natural, made from an old lava flow channel. But some archaeologists disagree. The tunnel has been extensively worked on and might actually be man-made. The chamber runs the length of 100 meters and lies 2 meters below the ground. The walls of the chamber were lined with cement, and about a third of the way through, the tunnel would split into two side chambers facing north and south. Continuing along, the tunnel ends in a room that splits into four separate chambers facing north, east, south, and west. We believe the orientation of this cave is why the pyramid, and perhaps the city itself, was built where it was. In 2012, work began to repair the damage done to the top of the pyramid. This led to the discovery of a 400-pound statue of the fire god Huehuetl, finally solving the mystery as to who the pyramid was meant to honor. Moving north at the end of the plaza, we have the Pyramid of the Moon. Standing 43 meters in height, the Pyramid of the Moon is the smaller of the two. In 1984, extensive excavation work was done at the site. This process had to be methodical. Remember, this is an archaeological site. This is where the gods live. Slow and Is that dynamite? Thankfully today, archaeologists have discovered the art of subtlety, but unfortunately Teotihuacan was a victim of the destructive practices of early archaeology. In the case of the Pyramid of the Moon, this involved blowing off the entire top of the pyramid with dynamite. Much work has been done at the site. In 1998, archaeologist Saburo Sugiyama dug several tunnels into the base of the pyramid, uncovering early construction phases and, much to everyone's delight, what we think is a royal tomb. The tomb was filled with Unfortunately, this is way too mature for this channel, but let's just say, if you're familiar with the Aztec, dial that up a bit. Next up, we have the Ciudadela, located at the end of the Avenue of the Dead. The Ciudadela was a large sunken-in plaza with platforms on all sides. It's home to the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, Quetzalcoatl. I need to pause here. Look at this thing. It's absolutely stunning, and I did my best to not let my lack of thumbs prevent me from capturing its splendor. The temple is covered with the faces of the Feathered Serpent. Next to him appears to be the rain god Talak, who we can identify with those goggled eyes. Only, something isn't quite right. He's missing his schnoz. It's okay, buddy. I don't have a nose either. So perhaps this isn't Talak. Perhaps it's just Quetzalcoatl dressed as Talak. Or maybe it's some other serpent deity. All I know is they have nice eyes. Now what's interesting is, like the other structures throughout the city, located in the front of the temple is a platform called the Platform of Adosada. Normally, these platforms allow the structures behind them to act as backdrops for the various ceremonies being held. However, because the plaza sinks down, the view of the pyramid actually gets blocked by this platform. Was this intentional? I'll let you decide. Okay, you might be thinking, why is this so important? Sure, the temple is well decorated, but compared to the height and scale of the two pyramids, it doesn't seem all that impressive. Well, you have to understand who Quetzalcoatl was. Many of you probably know him from the late Maya classic city of Chichen Itza. That famous shadow effect along the stairs that takes place during the equinox, that's him. The Maya called him Kukulkan, and his enemies call him Namor. As a deity, the Feathered Serpent is unique. Unlike the rain god Talak, or as the Maya called him, Chak, the Feathered Serpent took on a vast array of different attributes. He was associated with Venus, arts and crafts, the wind, the creation of fire, the domestication of animals, all sorts of stuff. There's even a version of him depicted as an Aztec king who challenged the gods and then vanished into the ocean, vowing to return. Put simply, this guy's a big deal. Lots of cultures worship some variation of him. But here's the thing, Chichen Itza is a late classic Maya city, thriving around 900 to 1200 AD. The Aztecs, who featured Quetzalcoatl prominently, existed for a brief period around 1400 AD. The height of power and influence for Teotihuacan was around 400 AD. This temple is the earliest direct example of Quetzalcoatl's worship, and it was built centuries before the cult of the Feathered Serpent spread throughout the region. So that's why it's important. Studying this site helps us better understand the evolution of religion throughout Mesoamerica. Work at this site continues, and in 2003, archaeologists made an astonishing discovery. Thanks to our old friend the rain, archaeologists once again uncovered the entrance to a tunnel. Unlike the tunnel under the Pyramid of the Sun, this tunnel is certainly man-made. While excavating the wait, what's that? Nothing. We do it right this time. As of the posting of this video, excavation work continues in the tunnel. Archaeologists have uncovered a tunnel system that appears to mirror the natural lava tunnel under the Pyramid of the Sun. The walls were beautifully decorated with pyrite, better known as fool's gold, as well as hematite, a metallic silver crystal. In the northern chamber, archaeologists discovered clay balls covered in more pyrite. As they moved down the tunnel system, they discovered two adjacent chambers again facing north and south. In 2010, archaeologists used the same robotics technology used at the Pyramid of Giza to see what laid at the end of the tunnel. The robot revealed that the tunnel ended by splitting off into 3 separate chambers. The process is still ongoing, but archaeologists expect they'll find a fourth chamber, similar to what was found under the Pyramid of the Sun. Okay, buckle up, because so far, all we've seen is eye candy. As impressive as these structures are, they're just the icing on the cake. And I love cake. At the center of the city lies a road that connects all of these sites. It's called the Avenue of the Dead. The road is 4 kilometers in length and establishes the orientation for the entire city. Running along the sides of the street were several small platforms and pyramid structures. Wait a second, I think we can do better than that. There we go. These were elaborate palace compounds covered with decorated murals and a gorgeous color palette that made the whole city shine like a jewel. It must have been incredible to see, but as gorgeous as these are, let's be honest, lots of cities have great architecture. What made Teotihuacan special was how it approached housing for the working class. It was the first civilization in Mesoamerica to dedicate resources to urbanization. They created over 2,000 apartment complexes that would house between 50 and 100 people and were aligned along a grid system that spans out from the Avenue of the Dead, covering an area of over 20 square kilometers. Some of the complexes, located closer to the center of the city, were decorated with beautiful murals. These murals tell us a lot about the Teotihuacan army. In the Atatelco complex, there's a mural depicting various warriors. The complex is believed to be an army barracks. Well, let's take a closer look at that mural. Here, we have Teotihuacan warriors dressed as different animals. We have a coyote, an eagle, I think that's a falcon, and a jaguar. Now, I haven't covered the Aztec yet, but most of their elite warriors were divided into different classes of jaguars and eagles. It's possible this mural is the origins for that tradition. In addition to housing, these complexes also have various workshops where the wealth of Teotihuacan flowed. The city had a monopoly on a rare type of green obsidian and used it to build a vast trade network. Now, what happens when you meet new people? You fight? We'll get to that, I promise. You make friends, you share ideas, you eat better food. As the city grew, it attracted immigrants from other cultures. These immigrants would establish neighborhoods, and eventually Teotihuacan would become Mesoamerica's first cosmopolitan city. Think of it like New York. You have your Maya town, your little Zapotec. It even had its own version of Soho called the Merchants Barrio, where various coastal cultures gathered. This is what makes Teotihuacan such a unique city. It's not the size of the pyramids or the grandeur of the city's grid system. It's the way they integrated different cultures and spread their influence throughout the region. And spread their influence, they did. Moving south, we can see evidence of Teotihuacan influences as far down as modern-day Honduras. The Zapotec capital of Monte Alban clearly uses Teotihuacan architecture, a system called talud tablero, where the slope of a building would be broken up by different platforms that extend out. We see this architecture all over Mesoamerica, including at some of the most famous Maya cities such as Tikal and Kaminalhuyu. Kaminalhuyu even built a massive acropolis in the style of Teotihuacan architecture. Now, if you're like me and you don't recognize any Maya city that's not on a postage stamp, let me explain why Teotihuacan influence in this area was such a big deal. Kaminalhuyu dominated the Maya highlands. Unlike the lowland areas where Maya cities had to contend with tropical forests, the highlands were relatively dry and fertile. Oh, and they had obsidian. You know, one of the most versatile tools in Mesoamerica, ancient superweapons, only kind of important. Not really a big deal if another culture, perhaps one that already controls the flow of a rare green variation, also has an influence in the region that supplies the rest. What could go wrong? A lot went wrong. When Teotihuacan finally invaded the lowlands, they had their eyes set on the grand city of Tikal. Oh hey, a city found on a postcard. I know this one. Now, one could draw some shady inferences from the meeting of these two great nations. But we're not here to speculate. The two groups meet, the ruler of Tikal dies, and he's succeeded by a Teotihuacan prince. Listen, I don't know how their transfer of power works. Maybe that's how their system works. Centuries of Maya rule, and then suddenly boom, Teotihuacan dynasty. Mix things up a bit. Not buying it? Well, neither were the other powers in the region. Tikal was now under the influence of Teotihuacan. Spear Thrower Owl, wait a second. Man, they had some cool names back then. We believe Spear Thrower Owl was the leader of Teotihuacan, and his son was now the head of one of the most powerful city-states of the Maya region. So what happened next? Well, for the Maya, the rise of Tikal would lead to the Maya Star Wars, but for Teotihuacan, unfortunately, it's still a mystery. By 400 AD, the Maya had stopped using their art and architecture. As fast as Teotihuacan came to dominance, it seems to have fallen just as quickly. In 600 AD, the city was burnt to the ground, and the question as to why still remains a mystery. It wasn't until the Aztec came upon their ruined city centuries later that their heritage would be reborn. But the impact Teotihuacan had on the region cannot be understated, and our story doesn't end here. Deep in the jungles of Guatemala, at the site of El Mirador, where my drawings have improved significantly, the city is almost completely abandoned. We don't know why, but a small group of people remained. While we don't know why they remained in the abandoned city, we do know what happened to them. At the base of El Tigre lies a body pit, where the final inhabitants of El Mirador lay rest, each of them struck with an obsidian weapon. Green obsidian weapons. To this day, the reasons are still unknown, but one theory is the Great Snake Kingdom of Calakmul has traces back to El Mirador, and the war that followed between Tikal and Calakmul almost certainly has its origins in the expansion of Teotihuacan. But unfortunately, we're out of time, so I guess we'll have to leave the story of the Snake Kingdom for another video. Until then, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to bring snacks.